This is a basic introduction of organic chemistry. Let's understand what is organic chemistry. Actually, organic chemistry is the branch of chemistry that deals with the study of carbon compounds. So that is what is important. We are studying the carbon compounds. This is a carbon. So remember compounds are no bolela ka two or more different atoms bonded together. So we are studying the carbon compounds. Re la gore o tlo expecta bona mornally a carbon being bonded to other atoms such as hydrogen, fluorine, oxygen, and other atoms. But it's important to know in your syllabus, the organic compounds that we study, they consist of hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, and halogens. And then these halogens are tla focus on fluorine, bromine, chlorine, and iodine. Re la gore o tla bona a carbon being bonded to either hydrogen, oxygen, or these halogens. Another thing that is very important from grade 10, re tseba gore a carbon e na le a 4 valency. In short, re no rela gore a carbon can only be bonded to the maximum of 4 bonds. Ge le gore this is a carbon can only be surrounded by the maximum of 4 bonds. Like, so ka kgona bona gore this carbon is surrounded by 4 bonds. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. And then remember oxygen, it can only be bonded by the maximum of 2 bonds. This is oxygen, it can only be bonded by the maximum of 2 bonds. And then hydrogen, it can be bonded by the maximum of 1 bond. And then the same as these halogens, they can be bonded by the maximum of 1 bond. And then another thing to know, when carbon atoms bond, they can form single, double, or triple bonds. For example, ge o ka lebelela this compound, o ka kgona lemoga gore re na le only a single bond. And then ge o ka lebelela this one, o ka kgona bona gore re na le a maximum of 2 bonds, so which is a double bond. And then as for this one, re na le a maximum of triple bond. So that is the maximum number of bonds jelo re ka ba le jona. So it's either re ba le a single bond, re ba le a double bond, or eba a triple bond. So now I lebelle some very important terms jelo re o tlo tshwanela gore di tsebe for this topic. And then more le a functional group. A functional group is a bond or an atom or a group of atoms that determines the physical and chemical properties of organic compounds. Let's see, for example, these compounds. This compound re bitša gore ke alkane, e wela under a group called the alkane. But don't worry about these names, we'll discuss about these names later on. And then this one e wela under the group of alkenes. And then this one e wela under the group of haloalkanes. let's understand why these compounds are different. Why this one is alkane, and then why this one is alkene, and then why this one is haloalkanes. Based on this definition, there is a bond or an atom or a group of atoms. E re highlighted here. There is a bond. Re ka lebelela this first compound ke alkane. This one ke alkane because ina le a single bond here. More na le carbon, hydrogens, and then rabale only a single bond. But re ka lebelela this one ina le a double bond. For the reason ya this one ina le double bond, RLR now it belongs into the group called the alkenes. The reason this one is different to this one is because of this bond. That is why it says it's a bond or an atom. So these compounds, they are different because of this bond. This one in a single bond, and then this one in a double bond. And then now this one we are saying is alkene because of this double bond. And then re ka lebelela this one, more na le a different atom. This one now it will under a halogen. And then now because this one it consists of a halogen, e ka sebe alkane ebile ka sebe alkene. So that is why this definition area is a bond or an atom. This one and this one are different because of a bond, and then again they are different because of an atom. So that is why it says it's a bond or an atom or a group of atoms that determines the physical and chemical properties of organic compounds. And then now because these compounds are different, this one is alkane, this one is alkene, and this one is haloalkanes, the different physical and chemical properties. So that is why it says it determines the physical and chemical properties of a group of organic compounds. So that is the definition of a functional group. And then morally what we call a homologous series. I can define it in two ways, but first I level this one. Array is a series of organic compounds in which one member differs from the next by a CH2 group. Let's say, for example, lebelela these compounds. These compounds kaofela di wela under alkanes, but ke nyaka gore le moge gore mo re na le a pattern. That is why it says is a series. E no rela gore ke tatelano. Mo re na le one carbon, and then re na le 4 hydrogens. And then as for this one, re na le 2 carbons, and then re na le 6 hydrogens. And then this one re na le 3 carbons, and then re na le 8 hydrogens. O ka kgona bona gore this is a series because ka kgona bona gore this is a pattern. Mo re na le 1 carbon, and then mo re na le 2 carbons, and then mo re na le 3 carbons. E rela gore the next one yo ba 4 carbons. And then re na le 4 hydrogens, re na le 6 hydrogens, re na le 8 hydrogens. So ka kgona go find the next compound because re tseba gore yo re fa 6,4 and then H10. This is because now mo re na le a pattern. O ka kgona bona gore this compound and this compound di differ ka only CH2. Mo re na le CH4 and then mo re na le C2H6. O ka kgona bona gore the difference here ke CH2 because more ke 4 and then more ke 6. E rela gore the difference hydrogens ke 2, and then moving from 6 to 8 e rela gore the difference ke 2, and so forth. So rela gore actually these compounds di differ only ka CH2. So rela gore actually mo re na le a series. That is why it says it's a series of organic compounds in which one member differs from the next by a CH2 group. So ke this definition ya a homologous series. For this one, is a series of compounds that have the same general formula and same functional group. So this one is a series, but what is important coordinately, the same general formula and the same functional group. For the reason these compounds kaofela ke alkanes, e rela gore di na le the same functional group and then di na le the same general formula. So that is the definition of a homologous series. And then more normally what we call a hydrocarbon. Is a compound which contains only carbon and hydrogen atoms. Let's say for example, ke nyaka gore o lebelele these compounds. Ge o lebelela this one, o ka kgona lemoga gore this compound e na le only carbons and hydrogens. But ge o ka lebelela this one, re na le carbon, re na le hydrogen, and then ra ba le another atom that is not carbon and hydrogen. So re la gore this one is a hydrocarbon, but this one is not a hydrocarbon because it consists only carbon and hydrogen atoms. So this is a hydrocarbon. And then more normally saturated compounds. Saturated compounds actually are compounds that contains only single bond between carbon atoms in their hydrocarbons chain. So what is important is these two terms, only single bond and the hydrocarbons chains. Let's see for an example. These compounds kaofela ke hydrocarbons because o ka lemoga gore di na le only carbon and hydrogens. But a re lebelele this definition, e re ke compounds that contains only single bond between carbon atoms in the hydrocarbon chains. These compounds kaofela ke hydrocarbons, but lemoga gore this one e na le only a single bond. But as for this one, o ka lemoga gore e na le a double bond. And then for the reason ya gore e na le double bond, not single bond only, re la gore this one is not a saturated compound, but only this one is a saturated compound. This one re bitša gore ke unsaturated. Unsaturated actually ke opposite ya the saturated. Re la gore unsaturated actually no compounds that contains a double or triple bond between carbon atoms in their hydrocarbons. So the moment a hydrocarbon e ka ba le double bond or triple bond, so re la gore ke unsaturated compound. So that's all about this introduction. So it's important to lebelele the next coming videos gore o kgone to understand more about this topic. So and that's it for this tutorial anyway.